The great hall of the crystalline spire was a place of cold beauty. Its walls, forged from solidified starlight, reflected the muted glow of the system's twin moons. The air hummed with the subsonic chatter of the assembled nobility, a gathering of species from across the accord, their forms as varied as their homeworlds. At the center of the spectacle stood a figure of profound stillness, the princess of the most ancient and revered lineage among the Stellari. She was a creature of elegant, elongated limbs and skin that held the faint luminescence of a nebula. Her large, obsidian eyes, which should have held the light of stars, were dulled by a deep and silent sorrow. She was known to be Barren, her unique biology incompatible with any other in the Accord, a living dead end to a majestic bloodline. Her uncle, the regent, saw her not as family, but as a political embarrassment to be managed. The culmination of the evening was a tradition of the gala, a mock bestowal of gifts. It was here the regent saw his chance for a final, cruel jest. When the princess's turn came, he gestured with a theatrical flourish. For our beloved niece, a guardian from a newest member species, one renowned for its robust adaptability. A human. A ripple of amused clicks and whispers moved through the crowd. Humans were the newcomers, the upstarts from a minor blue world, viewed as strong but simple, emotional and chaotic. To give one to a princess was an exquisite insult. The human who stepped forward was unlike the gleaming, chitinous, or vaporous forms around him. He was solid, clad in a simple shipsuit, his expression unreadable. He was a botanical surveyor, his ship damaged, his presence here a matter of diplomatic courtesy before repairs. He had not asked for this. He looked at the princess, not at her glittering gown or her title, but at the profound isolation in her eyes. He saw not a punchline, but a person stranded in a gilded cage. He gave a slow, deliberate nod, not the deep bow the Stellare used, but a gesture of plain acknowledgement. "I accept the charge," he said, his voice a calm, steady sound in the hum of the hall. The regent smirked. The joke was complete. Her chambers in the spire were a museum of loneliness. The human, now her assigned companion, did not fill the silence with pointless chatter. He simply existed within it. He studied the translucent, sorrowful plants in her conservatory, their petals closed tight. He noted the composition of the artificial light, the sterile, recycled air. One day he approached her. "Your light is wrong," he stated simply. She turned her luminous gaze upon him, a flicker of confusion within the darkness. "It is the light of my ancestors." "It is pure?" "It's empty," he said. "It has no chaos, no variance." From his personal effects, items deemed too primitive to be of concern, he produced small packets of seeds and a portable spectrum lamp. He did not ask permission. He found a barren section of mineral substrate in her conservatory and began to work. He adjusted the lamp, warming the soil, introducing gentle, irregular pulses of light she had never seen. He planted the seeds. She watched, first with detached curiosity, then with a growing fascination. He spoke to the soil as he worked, not to her. He told it of rain and distant suns and the patience of deep time. The seeds, touched by the strange rhythmic light and the careful measured watering, sprouted. Not the static, crystalline flora of her world, but vibrant, green, soft life. Leaves unfurled. A tiny vine reached out. She knelt one night, her long fingers hovering over a fragile shoot, and felt a warmth radiating from it she had never known. She looked at the human, who was watching her, and for the first time in decades, something within her did not feel cold. Weeks turned. He shared images of his world, not of its cities or wars, but of its ecosystems. He showed her deserts that bloomed after rare rains, jungles where life grew atop life, and deep oceans where light was created by living things. He spoke of symbiosis, of life finding a way not through purity, but through partnership, through unexpected fusion. A concept began to form in her mind, a desperate, impossible hope born not from stellari science, but from human philosophy of life's tenacity. Not one evening, she presented him with a data crystal containing her full genetic sequence, a map of her barrenness. "My people believe our line is a closed loop," she said, her voice a soft chime. "We seek compatibility, a mirror. We have never sought a complement." The human studied the data for many hours. He was not a geneticist, but an observer of life's patterns. He saw not a closed loop, but a unique lock. And he understood, from the deep history of his own planet, that a lock did not mean there was no key. It meant the key was simply different. He cross-referenced her sequence with the vast, public xenobiological archives of the Accord, looking not for similarity, but for harmonic resonance. He found nothing. Then, on a whim, he ran it against the basic foundational protein structures of Earth life, the humble, common building blocks deemed too simple for notice. There was a resonance, a faint, astonishing echo. A specific sequence in her chromosomal structure vibrated in harmony with a benign, ubiquitous bacterial symbiote carried by most humans, one that helped regulate circadian rhythms and emotional well-being. It was not a key meant for the lock. It was a vibration that could, theoretically, encourage the lock to reshape itself. He presented his finding, a hypothesis so absurd it bordered on heresy. "It's not about direct combination," he explained. "It's about environment. My people carry a tiny, living thing. It is part of us. In the right environment, one of warmth, of variable light, of emotional balance, this symbiote might resonate with you. It might encourage a latent potential, a different path." It was a fragile hope, built on chaos theory and bacterial whispers. She looked at the thriving, chaotic little garden he had made, then at the calm certainty in his eyes. "I would create that environment," she said. They left the spire. The regent, amused by his niece's folly in following the human to his grubby repair dock, did not stop them. Let her play at being alive, he thought. The human small ship, once repaired, became their home. He transformed its environmental systems, creating a dynamic space of warm, shifting light, humid air scented by earth plants, and pockets of deep, quiet darkness. It was a womb of controlled chaos. And there, over time, in a partnership that grew from mutual respect into a deep, wordless bond, the impossible happened. The resonance became a catalyst. Her biology, nurtured in this human-shaped environment, awakened a latent pathway. It was a parthenogenesis not of isolation, but of inspired adaptation, a final, desperate, and magnificent act of a lineage choosing to evolve. When the princess returned to the crystalline spire, it was not announced. Her ship, the human vessel now subtly modified, settled in the main courtyard. The regent, alerted, arrived with a cadre of nobles, ready to enjoy the final chapter of the joke. The hatch opened. The princess emerged. The murmurs died instantly. Her nebular luminescence was not dimmed, but deepened, radiant with an inner health that stunned the onlookers. She stood tall, her stillness now that of a mountain, not a statue, and in her arms, cradled against her, was a child. The infant's skin held the soft luminescence of its mother, but with warm undertones of earth. A faint, healthy blush graced its cheeks. Tiny, perfect fingers curled around the princess's own. The child's eyes, when they opened, were not pure obsidian, but held flecks of starlight and the deep, fertile brown of rich soil. The silence in the courtyard was absolute. The regent could only stare, his mind refusing to process the reality before him. Barren. The word echoed uselessly in his mind. The human stepped out behind her, standing at her side. He said nothing. He merely looked at the regent, his expression still calm. but now with a weight of proven truth behind it. The princess spoke, her voice clear and resonant, carrying to every ear. "You gave him to me as a jest," she said, her gaze sweeping over the stunned nobility. "You saw barrenness. He saw life, waiting for the right conditions to emerge. You gave me a punchline. He gave me a garden. And from that garden, a new branch grows." She looked down at the child, then back at the regent, her obsidian eyes now blazing with a light that had been absent for a lifetime. "Behold, my daughter, the heir to my line, nurtured not by the pure, static light of the past, but by the warm, chaotic, living sun of a new world." The human placed a hand on her shoulder, a simple, solid gesture of support. Together, they represented a truth the Accord had forgotten. Life did not just persist through strength or purity. It thrived through connection, through unexpected harmony, through the courage to embrace a different kind of light. The joke had ended. A new story, richer and more profound than any could have imagined, had just begun its first tentative chapter. And in that courtyard, under the cold stars, the warmth of that single, small, miraculous life began, slowly, to change everything.